My girlfriend told me I was dramatic for asking her daughter to show basic respect after I paid for braces, tutoring, everything. So I left a letter on the table and walked out before sunrise. No goodbye. You know what's funny? No one ever tells you that love sometimes feels like a second job. Or a third. My name's Darren. I'm 38 years old, living in St. Charles, Missouri. I'm a freelance graphic designer by day and a delivery driver by night. Every time I park that car at 1 in the morning, my knees scream and my fingers ache. But I do it. I do it because Maya needs braces. Maya needs tutoring. Maya needs everything, and apparently, I'm the one who's supposed to provide it. Claire, my partner, she used to tell me how grateful she was. That was back when Maya still called me Darren, with a shy smile instead of yelling it across the house like I was a damn inconvenience. Now, Claire just asks if I remembered to pay the school fees. That Tuesday night, I was so tired I forgot my own dinner. I walked in, dropped my bag by the couch, and saw the kitchen sink full of dishes I hadn't used. Maya was on the couch, earbuds in, scrolling her phone like I was invisible. Claire stood at the stove, not cooking, just sipping wine, arms crossed. Hey, I said. Did anyone eat already? You're late, Claire said, not looking at me. I told you the parent-teacher conference was at 6. I blinked. It's Tuesday. I thought that was Thursday. No, I told you 3 times. She turned around, finally looking at me. Maybe if you weren't always working, you'd actually hear what's going on. Maya snorted from the couch. It's not like he'd understand anyway. I just stood there. I was so tired I felt hollow. I cleared my throat. Well, I just did a 10-hour shift, so I'm sorry if I missed something. Claire rolled her eyes. You chose to take on those extra hours. Don't act like you're some martyr. I didn't say anything. What was the point? Every dollar I made went to this house, to Claire's online shopping habits, to Maya's endless list of expenses. And still, somehow, I was the problem. Later that night, I sat on the edge of the bed while Claire scrolled Instagram beside me. You think she appreciates any of it? I asked. Who? Maya, she said, still staring at her phone. She's a teenager, Darren. You can't expect her to worship you just because you pay bills. I don't want worship, I said. I want respect. Claire sighed like I was exhausting her. Then stop acting like you're the only one who does anything around here. I lay back in bed, staring at the ceiling fan turning slowly above me. In that moment, something in me started to unravel. A small thread, tugged loose and flapping quietly in my chest. Maybe I wasn't the only one working in this house, but I was the only one breaking in half just to keep it running. And I was starting to wonder what would happen if I stopped. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. One of those bland, overcast days where everything already feels gray before anything goes wrong. Claire had asked me to swing by Maya's school to drop off her calculator. She'd forgotten it again, and apparently, the world was ending because of it. I was running on 3 hours of sleep and a bag of vending machine trail mix. But I left work early, drove 20 minutes through traffic, and pulled up outside the school just in time to see Maya walking toward the parking lot, arms crossed, lips tight. There you are, she snapped, yanking the car door open. Took you long enough. I handed her the calculator. I left work for this. She snatched it from my hand without even looking at me. Yeah, and I had meetings this afternoon. Then maybe you should have told Claire to come instead, she said, slamming the door shut. My jaw tensed. You could try saying thank you. She laughed. Not a cute laugh. A mean one. Why? For doing the bare minimum? You act like you're some kind of hero just because you drive me around. I do a lot more than that, I said, trying to keep my voice level. I pay for your tutoring, your orthodontist, your... Oh my God. She rolled her eyes, loud enough for a few other kids nearby to turn and look. Here we go again. The sob story. You think you're important, but you're just the guy my mom settled for. I froze. For a second, I couldn't move. Couldn't even think. She kept going. You're not my dad. You never will be. You're just some loser who thinks paying for stuff means you matter. The other parents in the pickup line were staring now. One dad raised his eyebrows at me like he was enjoying the show. I felt my face go hot. And then Claire walked up. She must have parked somewhere nearby. She folded her arms and stood next to Maya like some smug bodyguard. She's not wrong, Claire said, not even flinching. You're always so dramatic, Darren. Maybe if you focused more on being part of the family instead of keeping score, you wouldn't feel so left out. That night, I didn't go to bed. I grabbed a blanket and took the couch. Upstairs, I could hear them laughing about some TikTok video, like nothing had happened. Like I wasn't unraveling downstairs, heartbeat like a fist inside my chest. I stared at the ceiling, rage humming quietly in my bones. Something broke in me that day, and I knew it couldn't be fixed. After that day in the school parking lot, I stopped trying to be noticed. I still paid the bills, still showed up when Claire asked me to, but something in me had gone quiet. Like a light switch turned off behind my eyes. That's when I opened a new bank account. Just a simple savings account at a different branch. No shared access, no online trail on our joint profile. I set up a small direct deposit from my freelance work. Nothing big, just enough to start building a way out. I didn't tell Claire. Didn't even leave a paper trail at home. At night, after my delivery shifts, I'd sit in the car with the engine off, scrolling through forums and legal advice threads. Reading up on Missouri's laws about common law relationships, asset division, how to remove your name from a mortgage without selling the house. I took notes like a student preparing for an exam I hoped I'd never have to take, but deep down, I knew I would. One Sunday morning, I drove out to visit my mom. She made coffee, the good kind with actual beans and cinnamon, and didn't ask questions when she saw the bags under my eyes. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, both hands wrapped around her mug, waiting. I finally just said it. I think I made a mistake with Claire. She didn't blink. What kind of mistake? I'm the one keeping everything together. But they make me feel like I'm a stranger in my own house. Mom nodded slowly. You always wanted to fix things, Darren. Even when you were little. You glue your toys back together instead of asking for new ones. I laughed, but it was hollow. You don't owe your life to people who treat you like furniture, she said. You can love someone and still leave them when they make you feel small. It was the first time in months I felt seen. Back at home, I started cutting hours from my freelance work. Not because I wanted rest, I was done pretending to be selfless, but because I needed time. Time to plan. Claire didn't notice. Maya didn't care. To them, I was just background noise, the guy who handled car insurance and kept the fridge full. But now, I had little pockets of peace. Quiet coffee breaks by myself at the diner. Catching up on old movies Claire never let me watch. A long walk through the neighborhood just because I could. They thought I was the same old Darren. They had no idea I was already halfway gone. I stopped paying the credit cards first, then the cable, then the second car's insurance, which only Claire used. Bills started piling up in the hallway basket, the one she never touched unless a package needed signing. I'd walk past it every day, pretending not to notice the growing stack of red-stamped envelopes. I was waiting. It didn't take long. One Thursday afternoon, my phone buzzed while I was halfway through a project for a client. Claire's name lit up the screen. I answered on the third ring. Yeah. Why are the electric and gas past due? Her voice was sharp, panicked. I kept my tone even. I don't know. I thought you handled the gas. I've never handled the gas, Darren. You do everything. Right? I said. Must have slipped my mind. She paused. Slipped your Darren. The utility company just left a shut-off notice on our door. Okay, I said, not moving. I'll check into it later. Silence stretched for a few beats. You okay? She asked, voice suddenly gentler. You've been distracted lately. I'm fine, I said. Just working a lot. But she knew. I could hear it in the way her breathing shifted. The growing unease. Something wasn't adding up, and for the first time, she didn't know how to fix it. That night, after Maya stomped upstairs, yelling about the spotty Wi-Fi, Claire cornered me in the kitchen. Be honest, she said. What's going on? I turned to her, slowly, like I'd been waiting for her to ask. You want honesty? Okay. I've been carrying this household by myself for 3 years. Every bill, every emergency, every one of Maya's appointments, her tutoring, her insurance, me. Claire's arms crossed, but she didn't say anything. You complain that I work too much. Then you panic when I miss a payment. You say I'm dramatic when I ask for respect, but you've never once stood up for me when your daughter talks to me like I'm gum on her shoe. I take care of things too, she started. No, I said. You take care of online shopping. I've seen the statements. You spent $200 on throw pillows last month and didn't blink. Meanwhile, I'm skipping meals to make the mortgage on time. Her face turned red, not from embarrassment, from being cornered. You don't get it, she snapped. I've kept this family together emotionally while you drown in your martyr complex. I stepped back, letting the silence stretch between us. I used to think I was lucky to have you, I said. Now I'm starting to think you saw me coming and knew I'd never say no. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. Because in that moment, I knew exactly how deep it went, how long she'd been taking, how little she ever planned to give back. And I knew I wasn't done pulling the thread. It all came to a head at Maya's orthodontist appointment. Claire had double-booked herself that morning, of course, so I left work early. Again. Sat through an hour in a too-bright waiting room with tween pop music playing overhead and a toddler coughing next to me while Maya scrolled through her phone like I didn't exist. When they called her name, she didn't even look up. Just stood and walked off. 15 minutes later, the receptionist waved me over. Hi, Mr. Lawson. There's an issue with the payment. I blinked. It's under Claire Bennett. Should have been covered. She frowned politely. Your insurance covered part of it, but there's still an unpaid balance of $460 from the last visit. We can't proceed until that's cleared. I took a breath. Then another. Okay, I said quietly. We'll reschedule. Maya stomped out 10 minutes later, livid. What the hell, Darren? Why didn't you just pay it? We owe money, I said, not bothering to soften my voice. So? Just swipe your stupid card like you always do. I turned to her, jaw tight. I'm not your ATM, Maya. She scoffed. Whatever. Don't take it out on me just because you suck at managing money. In the parking lot, Claire called. I barely had the door closed before her voice exploded through the speaker. What happened at the orthodontist? Maya just texted me freaking out. I didn't answer right away. Darren? Hello. There's a balance due, I said flatly. Over $400. I didn't pay it. Oh my God, she snapped. You're seriously going to make her wait on braces because you're mad at me? No, I said. I'm going to make her wait because I'm done paying for everything while getting nothing but attitude in return. You're being petty. I looked out the windshield at Maya scrolling angrily in the passenger seat, arms crossed, eyes burning holes into her phone. No, I said calmly. I'm being finished. Claire fell silent. For a long moment, I thought the call dropped. Then she hissed, You better not start this crap again. Darren, you live here. You're part of this family. You don't get to pull away just because you're tired of being responsible. I smiled. Just a little. Actually, I said, I think that's exactly when you start pulling away. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to a 24-hour diner across town and nursed a cup of black coffee for an hour, watching the rain beat across the windows, listening to the soft clink of dishes and murmured conversations around me. I opened a note on my phone and started a list titled, Things I Need Before I Leave. Apartment options. Storage units. Lawyer referrals. Mail forwarding. I wasn't angry anymore. I was resolved. The difference was small, but permanent. This family, if you could even call it that, wasn't mine. Not anymore. And I wasn't going to play husband or father or cash machine just to stay in the picture. I was ready to disappear from it. By the end of that week, I had rented a storage unit on the edge of town, clean, climate-controlled, and open late. I started small. My books. My camera gear. The box of childhood stuff my mom had given me last Christmas that Claire had shoved into the attic without a word. Every evening, after my delivery shift, I'd load a few more things into the trunk and drop them off. Nobody noticed. Not Maya. Not Claire. The house was still humming with the same energy it always had. Claire watching her true crime shows with a glass of wine, Maya upstairs FaceTiming her friends, both of them occasionally yelling at each other and then at me for not buying the right brand of orange juice. But in my head, I was already gone. The finances were next. I paid off my half of the mortgage in a lump sum, a move Claire wouldn't catch for at least a month, if ever. I stopped auto-paying the joint utilities. She'd figure it out when the accounts bounced. That wasn't my problem anymore. I spent one lunch break at a bank downtown, closing the old savings account we'd once shared and rerouting everything into the new one I'd opened quietly. The teller smiled at me and said, Starting fresh? I nodded. Yeah, something like that. The only person I confided in was Carrie, a coworker from my freelance contract gig, someone who'd shared enough late-night edits and exhausted coffee runs to feel like a real friend. We met for lunch at a taco truck behind the office one day. I told her the basics, the house, Maya, Claire, the years of being invisible. She didn't look surprised. You always show up looking like a guy who's 2 minutes from quitting everything, she said, handing me a napkin. Honestly, I'm proud of you. She offered to help me move the bigger things when the time came. And if you need somewhere temporary to crash, she added, I have a pull-out couch and a fridge full of frozen pizza. That night, I sat at the kitchen table while Claire scrolled on her phone. I was pretending to review a project, but really, I was making a checklist. Trash my old tax papers. Back up my design files. Disconnect my name from the house Wi-Fi. Forward my mail. Every item I checked off made my chest feel a little lighter. The best part? They didn't suspect a thing. Claire was too wrapped up in her own drama. Maya barely noticed if I was home unless she needed money or a ride. They thought everything was settling back to normal, just another rough patch in Darren's life. One he'd swallow like all the others. But this time, I wasn't swallowing it. This time, I was walking out with both feet on solid ground, not looking back. And by the time they realized what I was doing, I'd already be gone. I left before sunrise. The house was still. Even the creaky stair near Maya's room didn't make a sound this time, like the universe was quietly rooting for me. I'd packed the last of my things 2 days earlier, my laptop, a few framed photos I actually cared about, and a duffel of clothes. Everything else was already at the storage unit. The fridge still had Claire's almond milk and Maya's leftover takeout. I didn't touch any of it. Just before I closed the front door, I placed a letter on the kitchen table. No drama. No accusations. Just the facts. I told Claire I had paid off my half of the mortgage and had taken my name off all the joint accounts. I made it clear I wouldn't be covering any further bills. I let her know where to find the login info for utilities, car insurance, and the school portal, things I had managed without thanks for years. I included a forwarding address for legal purposes. At the bottom, I wrote one line just for her. You treated my presence like a convenience. Now you'll feel my absence. Then I walked out. No note for Maya. She'd made it clear where I stood in her world. I didn't drive straight to my new apartment. I sat in the car for a while in the grocery store parking lot a few blocks away, just breathing. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing somewhere. Wasn't on the hook for a dentist appointment, a late-night pickup, or a forgotten payment. My phone stayed silent for almost 2 hours. Then the notification started. Claire. Darren? Where are you? Claire. You left a letter? What the hell is this? Maya. OMG, did you seriously just leave? Claire. This is insane. You're being ridiculous. Claire. You need to come back right now. We have bills due, and Maya has a test this week. I didn't reply. I just watched the messages come in, one after another, stacking up like overdue invoices. I pictured Claire reading that letter, her wine glass trembling in her hand, realizing for the first time that I wasn't bluffing, that I had quietly dismantled every piece of the support system she thought she was entitled to. By the time I walked into my new place, a one-bedroom over a bakery, the sun was rising. It smelled like cinnamon and fresh dough. The landlord had left the key in a lockbox. No drama, just warmth. That night, I sat on a futon with a cheap takeout dinner and no one yelling at me. No sarcastic teenager. No silent contempt across the couch. Just me. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. The silence didn't last. By day 3, the tone of their messages started to change. The initial rage had faded. Now came the guilt. The panic. The spinning desperation of people realizing they'd lost their safety net. Claire. I didn't think you'd actually leave. Claire. You blindsided us. Maya's been crying. She feels awful. Maya. I didn't mean all the stuff I said. I was mad. You didn't deserve that. I stared at that last one for a long time. It was the first time Maya had said anything remotely human to me in over a year. She followed it up with, Maya, you were always there, and I didn't act like it. I'm sorry, okay? That hit harder than I expected, but it didn't undo the damage. Claire's messages, on the other hand, bounced between self-pity and manipulation like she couldn't pick a lane. Claire, I know I was hard on you sometimes, but we were under pressure. Claire, you don't just walk away from your family because you're tired. Claire, we can fix this. Come home, please. Then, Claire, if you really loved Maya, you wouldn't abandon her like this. There it was. That familiar twist, turning my exhaustion into guilt, rewriting history so I'd look like the villain for finally setting boundaries. I didn't respond. Not yet. But later that night, I sent one message. Only one. Me. I'm not coming back. I'll continue to support Maya's medical and educational needs. Directly. Nothing else. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, Claire replied. Claire. So that's it? You're just done with me? I didn't answer. Because yes, that was exactly it. The next day, I set up a small trust account in Maya's name, managed through my attorney. It would only be used for school-related expenses, orthodontics, and medical appointments. No cash, no loopholes. I emailed the access information to Claire with a firm note. This is for Maya. Not you. Not groceries. Not gas. Just her needs. She replied within the hour. Claire, you think this makes you some kind of hero? No, I didn't think that at all. I wasn't trying to be the hero anymore. I wasn't trying to be anything for her. But the truth was, walking away from Maya hadn't been easy. She wasn't mine by blood, but I'd raised her. I'd sat through her recitals, helped her with algebra, picked her up when her dad no-showed a weekend visit. For a long time, I'd been the only constant she had. And now, I had to be constant in a different way, by not going back. Because if I did, I'd be signing up for more of the same. More late nights. More disrespect. More silence when I needed support. I didn't hate Maya. I just loved myself more now. That was new. And it was staying that way. It was Carrie who told me the truth. We were grabbing lunch again, same taco truck behind the office. I was halfway through a soda when she looked up from her phone and said, You hear about Claire's little side hustle? I blinked. What side hustle? She turned the screen toward me. A Facebook post from a mutual friend I hadn't spoken to in months. Claire smiling in front of a mirror, holding a handbag I knew she hadn't paid for. The caption? Shout out to Claire for always being generous. Still can't believe she sent money to help her ex with that custody thing. Real one. Custody thing. I stared at it. You mean she's been giving money to her ex? I asked slowly, not sure if I was hearing it right. Carrie nodded. Apparently for a while now. Her ex's name came up on Venmo. Multiple transfers. The pit in my stomach formed fast. All those times I'd asked why we were short on cash. All the bills I scrambled to cover while Claire insisted everything was fine. She wasn't just neglecting to help, she was funneling our money somewhere else. I didn't know whether to laugh or feel sick. That night, Maya sent me another text. Short. Out of nowhere. Maya. You were right. She talks about you behind your back. All the time. Even when you were paying for everything. I sat down slowly, reading the message over and over. Me. Why are you telling me this now? Maya. I guess I just didn't realize how much until you were gone. She makes it sound like you were never enough. But you were the only one doing anything. There it was, the confirmation I never expected but always knew deep down. Claire hadn't just taken me for granted. She'd actively poisoned Maya against me. She'd turned my sacrifices into annoyances, my love into weakness. And now that I was gone, the truth was starting to float to the surface like oil in water. For the first time since leaving, I didn't feel guilty. I felt vindicated. All those long nights, the triple shifts, the bills paid with barely enough left for gas, they weren't meaningless. I had done what I could. I had done more than most would have. And now, finally, I was free. Not just from the house. Not just from Claire. But from the lie that I was ever the problem. I stood by the window of my little apartment above the bakery and watched the city lights blink in silence. No more yelling. No more guilt. Just air in my lungs and space in my head. I wasn't the backup anymore. I was my own person. And that was enough.